Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Pitch Strike Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats. I'm here with Rob, and it's Friday.
There we go.
Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to this team.
Hit the intro again.
Reset. Everybody. He's had a good week and was able to make the best out of the Yankees being out of the postseason. And Rob, let's be honest, the Jays, they were just hungrier. But I think the big big takeaway from this postseason run is I said it the other day. I think that all the trash talk on and all the negativity around Judge in the postseason can finally be put to bed. He was the spotlight. He was the highlight of the postseason, and Schlittler. I think those were the two that really stepped up. Bednar had a really good postseason, but I mean, Judge, you can't say enough about what this guy did for this team this year. It makes you wonder, if he had this postseason last year, you don't know what the script would have been, but that was then, and this is now. Rob, how are you feeling about how painful this is?
I'm over it. They got smacked around. The one win was because of Aaron Judge. It if not for him hitting that home run, they got swept. So I don't really. I wasn't really surprised. That's why I wasn't too high about it on Wednesday during the show. I was really it's like they still have to prove that they can go out there and win again, and they fell flat. Only a couple of guys showed up in that game. Schlittler was fine. He kind of matched what my expectation was for him in the stat line, at least. And then Judge did his thing, and then everybody else. McMahon was okay. He had the home run. His defense was missed when Boone, for some reason, pulled him later in the game. So it's just a list of things that have kind of always creeped its ugly head at the wrong time. Like the defense was fine early, then it fell apart late. Jazz couldn't make a double play that he's made all season. It's just kind of the typical song and dance when the Yankees get to October is things that they usually do well end up going the other way in the biggest spots. So there's a lot of finger pointing going on between fans and analysts on Fox. Former Yankee players are pointing fingers, and it's ugly. Because this is what happens every year when the Yankees lose in the playoffs. There's always finger pointing. It's all on Boone. It's not. It's all on Hal. It's not. It's all on Cashman. It's not. It's all on Judge. It's not. It's a collective thing. This team just doesn't have it right now to go and make a run. They were close last year, and they fell apart at the worst possible time. So they just don't seem to have that killer instinct. The Jays did. Vladimir Guerrero has that killer instinct. He has that Yankee hate in him, and he's riding with it because he hates this team's guts, and he's proving it night in and night out. More people are offended by his post-game, the Yankees lose thing with Ortiz than they are the fact that the Yankees lost that series. It's kind of interesting in that regard. So they beat us. There's no other way of putting it. The Blue Jays whipped the shit out of us, and we're very fortunate to have gotten one. The Blue Jays were the better team this entire series. The entire series, they were the better team. They showed why they deserved the division, even though it was a technical tie. That's why they had the tiebreaker. They whooped our ass all season long. They whooped our ass in the playoffs. And I can't help but just give them credit. This is not a rivalry thing right now. This is more just give credit to the better team. They were the better team. And it's simple as that. They outpitched us. They outhit us. They had the bigger moments. They were better defensively. And that's the end of it. They deserve to win. The Yankees certainly did not. You don't play the way they played for 4 games and say you deserve to win that series.
Yeah, I think when you look down at like where which each game by game how everything shifted, it was which team was able to capitalize on the mistake. Because we won Game 3 because we capitalized on their errors. They closed it out in Game 4 because they capitalized on our error. And that's just the way baseball goes. And yeah, the initial reaction is, F this team, F Boone, F Cashman, F Hal, and it's easy to just, like you said, point fingers when really every individual in this organization from top to bottom, um, you got to point the finger at yourselves. And yeah, I think everybody does have some accountability to why this team keeps failing. But I think the vitriol of the blame, yeah, that gets a little carried away when it plays out in the media. Like, I mean,
They're
I
even
would,
blaming us now. Like, there was an article from the New York Times. It's the spoiled Yankee fans, and it's just like this happens every year. Like I said, during the summer of hell, I know how this is going to end. They're going to end up going on a run. They're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to fail because it happens every single season the exact same way, and then we're going to get the finger pointing. It's been the same exact thing every single year since 2018. Except for that one year because they didn't make the playoffs. But even then, it was kind of like, whose fault is it they didn't make the playoffs? But every year, they give us hope, they fall flat, and then the finger pointing starts. It's Cashman, it's Boone, it's Judge, it's Stanton, it's Bellinger, it's Fried, it's us. Like, it's just the team isn't good enough to win it all. And that's as simple as that. I mean, you can't make it more simple than that. They're just not good enough. They're a very good team, which is why it's so concerning that they can't get it done. But they just aren't good enough, apparently, to get over the hump in October. And that's something that has to change.
I asked the question, in the beginning of the season, is it time for us to just lower our expectations because we keep getting the same result? And it's just rinse and repeat every year. We start off hot, and then comes the summer, it gets too hot and they can't play. And then when the fall starts to kick around again, they start playing well. They make it to the postseason, and they're scrambling to figure out how they're going to win games. It's since Boone's been here. We went from, with Girardi, Game 7 of an ALCS with a team that with names that we couldn't, nobody even heard of yet. They were so they were so new, and ever since Boone took over, it seems like every year they're just taking a step backwards, and there's just another problem mounting, which is why, I do put some of the blame on Boone, but it's also these players that they have to hold up their end of the bargain and keep their head in the game. You said Jazz that's a tailor-made double play. He botched it. Like, that shouldn't happen. The ball that kicked off the wall a little weird and went on the Judge's glove. You're a superhuman athlete. You got to know how to. You're at home. You should be able to play that ball. Like, those are those little things, and it's like, you got to button up the little things to get the bigger reward. And I think that's where the Yankees keep falling short.
It's the same song and dance every year. we probably said this exact same thing in a different way last season. And the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. So I sound tired because I am tired of it. It's just I can't. How much more can we take of this before the organization does something? Because there's not much we can do besides complain. And I'm sick of complaining. That's the thing. I'm sick of complaining. I guess we're spoiled because we want to see our team win, but it's not.
Is that every team?
Right? Like, why wouldn't I want to see? Win? Right? Why would I not want to see my team win? Like, it's Joe Torre's fault that because they won so much that's what the fans expect. No, they tell us every year. They tell us every year we expect to go out and compete for a championship. So why would I, as a fan, be like, probably shouldn't aim that high? Like, you see how stupid that is? Does that make me spoiled for just echoing what the front office is telling me? It's like if you were a Patriots fan when they were winning every single year, why wouldn't you feel confident that they're going to go win a Super Bowl? That's how good they were. That's how good Tom Brady was. Like, and Belichick as a head coach. He's fallen off a cliff at North Carolina, by the way. But that's how the Patriots fans felt, unless they played Eli Manning in the Super Bowl. But no matter what, they had the confidence that every year they're probably going to go and compete for a Super Bowl. That's how the Chiefs feel every year now. So why are those fans? Were those fans spoiled when the Patriots are winning every year? No, they're like, you can't. Why would you feel spoiled? You can't beat us. So I'm not spoiled. Maybe I am in a sense, but it's just like those are the expectations the organization is telling us that we expect to go win. You hear Judge say it, you hear Boone say it. They're telling us the expectation is to win. So if you as a fan are saying you probably shouldn't do that, then that's on you. But no, we're at fault. We're not. We're never. It's never the fans' fault for expecting a team that has 27 championships and a $320 million payroll to go out and try to win a championship. That's not the fans' fault. The team just doesn't perform when they need to.
And there were a lot of players that just didn't hold up their end of the bargain. One guy I'm disappointed in, but I'm not really blaming, I guess, would be Stanton. Because he saved us so many Octobers. I think that it's, for people that are saying that, well, if we had October Stanton, things would have been different. You can't, he can't hit a home run every time. So he had, I think, his first bad postseason since he's been in this organization. So I'm not blaming Stanton. I'm just disappointed in his performance. I did expect a little more. And I think if you had that tandem with the way Judge was hitting, if you had Stanton too, things might have been different. You can't even say it would be different. But yeah, Bellinger, who had a phenomenal regular season. He flatlined in offensively. Defensively, he was a freaking rock star. But offensively, he was nowhere to be found. Volpe, the wild card series was playing really well. He was putting good at bats together. He was nowhere to be found. Well, swinging first pitch after a walk will always piss me off to no end. And I think I'm starting to think maybe catcher is now on the list of positions that need to be evaluated in the off season.
I mean, shortstop, catcher, potentially
first base.
first base, potentially center field or left, depending on what they want to do with Bellinger and Dominguez. There's a lot that can be done. Maybe second base opens up if they move on from Jazz Chisholm, although I don't think they'll do that. Stanton, I'm mad about his performance. I know he's been great in the past, but it's what have you done for me lately when it comes to the playoffs? You can't. I've heard way too many fans being like, I don't care what Judge did in 2017 and 18 and 19. He was bad last year. Well, you got to have that same sentiment about Stanton. He was great last year, but we didn't win. And he was terrible this year. So he deserves some of the blame for sure. Am I pointing the finger directly at him? No. Do I think he's finished? No. He had a near 30 home run season with 2 bad elbows in half a year. So clearly there's still something left in the tank, but he didn't show up when we needed him to, but he's not the only one. So it's just a lot of again, all the finger pointing that's been going on. It's just like you can point at like 6-star players that did not show up. You can point at the manager for bad decisions. You can point at the pitching coach for not having free. But how can you really blame Matt Blake for Max Fried and Rodon, who have been great all season, failing in this series? So it's just like there's really not one finger that you can point at somebody and be like, it's your fault. It's just the team. The team in general just fell flat. They let down Schlittler. They let down Judge. They let down Bednar. They let down McMahon, if we're being honest, because McMahon's the only one that really showed up in the final game. So it was just a collective letdown, and they let down the fans. And that's what Derek Jeter said after the game, is that he feels for the fans. And that's I know we don't really matter in their minds sometimes, but that's who really is most let down right now. But at the same time, the team's got to feel terrible about it. It's just like we can go on for hours listing the things that are wrong with this team, but we've been doing that all season. We've been doing that since the spring. So it's not something that's new. We know the problems. Seems like the Yankees don't know the problems.
Yeah, and there was a lot of jumbling going on. I think one of the problems that Boone had was he had too many weapons that he didn't know how to use. Why was it, like going into the game, you see that Volpe is struggling. Why do you keep putting him at shortstop? Yes, his defense was a little more buttoned up, but Caballero could at least give you a solid glove with maybe some more competitive at bats. You know, why did they keep, putting Grisham out there? I know we hadn't seen a lot of Dominguez. Who knows? Maybe Dominguez could have had a good postseason, burst of energy and provided something for this team. We saw what he did in that one at bat after being like frozen. You can't even say just cold. Yeah, and he was able to lace out that double. So it makes you start pondering, going, what if, what if, what if? But it doesn't. We could analyze it and break it down as much as we want. At the end of the day, it's just we're another team now on vacation.
Yep, we're in Cancun with the Sox and the Mets and the Phillies now. Yankees and Phillies are so similar every year. They just
scary.
Find ways to screw up in the big spots. That play last night was insane.
I'm just gonna say that's gonna haunt them.
Yeah, throw to first, though. But in the moment, you almost forget. Like, is there a guy over there? Like, I'm sure like the adrenaline was pumping. But if that happened with us, we'd be screaming. So I can feel for them, but at the same time, fuck Philly. That's a football thing. But let's just see what's going on in the chat, because there's a lot of conversation about Bellinger, and I think that's a pretty big conversation, because I'm gonna be honest, if he goes to the Mets, like we're seeing a few people bring up here, he could be a potential replacement for the Mets because they need some outfield help. I wouldn't care. I'll be honest. If they really want to, if they make Spencer Jones untouchable, which he seemingly is, it's now or never to get this dude on the roster. So do you have Bellinger come back to play first? And if that's the case, what do you do with Ben Rice? Is Rice your catcher? And does that you go with the same platoon of two lefty catchers, which is kind of part of this roster's issue? Although they're both, kind of have their strengths. Wells can hit lefties, Rice can't. So do you platoon the two of them? I don't know if they want to overspend for Bellinger, considering he's about to be 30 and he didn't really show up here in the postseason, along with Grisham's gone. We know that for sure, but I don't know. Do you give the job to Spencer Jones and let Bellinger walk? I mean, I don't know. That's something the Yankees are going to have to consider, at least this offseason. Like, Bellinger was really good, obviously, this season. What do you have, a 30 home run year, 800 plus OPS, should have been an all-star. Excellent defense no matter where you put him. So I don't know. That's a decision the Yankees are going to have to make. Can they get him to like a 4 or 5 year deal? Or maybe something similar to what he signed with Chicago, where there's opt-outs. Maybe they finally get on board with the opt-out thing. I don't know, because I don't want to see him leave, but I wouldn't be too upset if he did leave, if that makes any sense. Like I would, if it's now or never, if they want to give the reins to Spencer Jones, because he's not getting any younger. Let's not forget, he's like 25 or 24, 25 already. So it's now or never for Spencer Jones. They can't keep letting him rot in AAA after the season he just had. So you got to make a decision there. Is it Bellinger, or do you move Dominguez and give the job to Jones, because they don't seem to like Dominguez for some reason? So I don't really know what they're going to do there.
Yeah, what's going on, Donald? It's Bellinger's tricky, because I think you're right. If we're able to keep him in this club, and I think he wants to stay. It would just be a matter of where the numbers line up. I'd be ecstatic to have him for next year. But if he gets an offer somewhere else, I don't want to overpay for Bellinger, because then you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball to make other moves. I think Grisham is. I had said it on the Yanktified the other night. Maybe give Grisham a respectable 1 year offer as a thank you for what he did this year, but definitely no qualifying offer. That I'm not giving him. He's not getting that much.
No, let him go. Let him go. I think that's a 1 year wonder thing.
Oh, I do too.
It's much easier to give the money to Bellinger, but at the same time, at least you kind of have a fallback. I want to get Donald in a second, but you kind of have a fallback because Spencer Jones is right there. If you let Bellinger go, you need to spend the money elsewhere because, like we just said a few minutes ago, you might need a catcher. You definitely need a shortstop. So you might have to allocate the funds. We know the Yankees are going to have a budget. Does it get a little bit higher because they failed again? Maybe, but they're going to have to spend elsewhere, knowing they have that fallback in center field and Spencer Jones, or even left field if they want to put Dominguez back in center. I agree with that. You have to spend at shortstop. They can't go into next season with Volpe again. They just can't do it.
Oh God, no. Well, good morning, Donald. How are you?
So up late celebrating the Giants, my friend.
I know it's a rough morning for you. What's your take on what we're talking about?
Right. Where do we start with? Do you want to start with Bellinger, or do you want to start with
Bellinger, Grisham, with the outfield and how they're going to squeeze Jones into the mix?
So Grisham, I let him walk. Um, I can't risk offering the qualifying offer. Actually, I
No,
can't risk it. 22 million is
that's
a lot.
way too high. Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you take it because, as you know, there's a lot of teams would be afraid of the penalties that would be attached to signing someone who had a qualifying offer rejected. They get penalties for that. That's a stupid MLB rule. It should never be the case. So while that's still in place, at least until the lockout, because there will be. There's so much stuff that needs to be done with the economics of baseball, but I just don't see that realistic. So I let him walk. As for Cody, it's a weird one because we also we can't forget his past history, where he's had a lot of good years, but he's also had a lot of bad years, and I'm sure the Cubs were just as surprised that he had as bad a year as he did after the very good first year he had, and then he followed it with a bad year. Um, will that be the same trend here? And it would be a very expensive trend, and we really can't afford that, considering the budget that the Yankees have. We really can't afford to have him have a bad year. So I would seriously consider Tucker. I would seriously consider Kyle Tucker. Go for him. I would seriously consider going for him. Bellinger, it's a weird one. I think Rob's got a spot on where it's like I'd be delighted if he comes back, but if he doesn't, I probably wouldn't bat an eyelid. You know what I'm saying? But to be fair, if you read the tea leaves, like if you read every like all the Yankee sports writers, the ones that carry water for the organization, Andy Martino, they're all saying Cody Bellinger, Cody Bellinger, Cody Bellinger, Cody Bellinger, Cody Bellinger, Cody Bellinger. I think we know what the Yankees are going to do. They're going to offer a pretty hefty sum to Cody Bellinger and have him come back. And I'm not going to hate it. It's just that, yeah, I'm not sure.
Err on the side of
It might
caution.
just be the fact that he had such a bad postseason, which has kind of rubbed me the wrong way on him, and it might not be necessarily fair on him because he was great.
Yeah.
And if you're being honest, like when in that kind of summer kind of, I wouldn't say slump the Judge had, but he was a little quieter. The MVP of the team was Cody Bellinger. He really was. He was playing every position, and he was making great plays and left and center, and he was just fantastic. And then offensively, he was a beast. 90 plus RBIs. So he had a very, very good year, and he looks like he's built to be a Yankee. So I would. The best thing that could possibly happen would be if Bellinger just took the option. If he took the fucking player option, that would be the best possible scenario. Unfortunately, he won't. He will opt out, and then he'll test free agency. And then I think the Yankees' plan A is Cody Bellinger. And it might also be plan B and C. I don't think they're going to make any changes. I don't think they're going to do anything. That's my prediction. Media is already campaigning. Exactly. I don't think the Yankees are going to do much this free agency. I don't think they're going to change much. I really do. I think they love this team.
I think if there's one thing they do address more so than the other, it would be the bullpen. I think we could see a much different bullpen going into the next year. Especially with Williams and Weaver going into free agency. I don't think either one of them are back. I don't want to let the postseason really change my mind on Williams. I think he was just here for the 1 year. I think he was a one and done type of guy because he did kind of redeem himself near the end where he's going to have some value in the market. And I'm not overpaying I don't want to overpay for a reliever.
No, we have Bednar.
There's so many of them. Exactly. And we are going to have a lot of starting pitching going into the next season that you can start maybe shuffling a couple guys around. So it's going to be. I don't think that they're going to go heavy on the position players. I think it's going to be more bullpen focused this offseason.
You kind of have to be wary of that because look at what the Dodgers. I was campaigning for Tanner Scott all offseason. That dude's been fucking awful. So the Yankees seem to do better when they don't spend on the bullpen. Like, believe it or not, like, who would have imagined Devin Williams? We got him for Nestor Cortez, best closer in baseball, and he was terrible for us as a closer. So I'm not saying go find a scrap heap guy, but maybe try to get like at least a solid couple of arms just to solidify things. You've got your closer. Hopefully Doval is better next year as a setup man. And I don't know what they do with Luke Weaver. I don't know if he's been soured on with the fan base. I don't think he was the same pitcher after that injury, which is directly related to the manager. But I don't know what they're going to do. They have way too much starting pitching, so they don't need to sign anybody there. Schlittler solidified his spot. Heel was fine. Even in the playoffs, he wasn't great, but he's going to be healthier next year, so his velo should be up. He should be better. We're going to have Cole back at some point, and you still got Clark Schmidt on the comeback, and as Doran's bringing up, there's a lot of arms on the come up. A lot of arms that aren't being talked about. LeGrand, keep an eye on him. ERC, I love that kid. He's like our number 3 prospect now. So there's a lot of arms coming up. Maybe they trade from that crop. Maybe Will Warren becomes available and they're able to get some bullpen arms that are under control. Something you trade from a strength for a need. But they have to spend somewhere. They can't go into I hope Donald's wrong. I'll say that, but I kind of agree with him. I don't think they're going to do too much because they're going to say this roster, despite its flaws, won 94 games. Why should we change too much?
Well, that's why Boone made the statement in the press conference. I would run it back with these guys, every day of the week. And I'm like, oh, God. And I want to get a little more into Boone's statement, because, he's on the contract, so it doesn't matter how we criticize him.
As he put it.
Guys, that pissed me off more than losing the series.
I mean, he's not wrong. He is under contract, and we all knew this. Like, that's why, again, at the risk of repeating myself for like an 8th time this year, I didn't want him getting an extension at all. Not even a year. I said, don't give him shit. Let him manage with the pressure of being on his final year, and you're going to see a different manager. They didn't do that. Security blanket of 2 years, he ain't going anywhere. So you can scream it at the top of your lungs, whether you're on the panel or you're in the chat or you're on Twitter or you're at your own house and you just want to yell it. He ain't going anywhere. And it sucks, but he ain't going anywhere. And we knew that. Once they gave him that extension, he was locked in for at least one more year. If they fail again next year, then maybe you can start having those conversations. But next year, there's a few guarantees with this team, and Aaron Boone as the manager is one of them. Exactly. The silence in that word pathetic is exactly how you're supposed to describe that. They are not going to make a change there when they probably should.
Yeah, I mean, the only logic to really run it, running Volpe back out there is waiting for oh, why does his name just leave my head?
Lombard.
Who?
Lombard.
Lombard to get ready. I just don't. I don't think they're going to be in the market for a shortstop in free agency. I think that's going to be handled internally. Maybe you see, like a competition, spring training.
Same mistake they made last time, though.
I know, but then it's the same Vincent repeat. But you have McMahon for a couple of years, under control. I don't know what they're going to do with Jazz either. But it's first base is still gonna, is that where you go big free agent?
Well, that's it. Let's go through the team, because I honestly don't see that the Yankees are going to make many or any changes due to the commitment they have, not just financial, but emotional commitment.
Yeah.
Because that the Yankees are fiercely loyal.
Well, sometimes to the wrong people,
or also just delusional. But let's start with catcher Wells. They're all in on Austin Wells.
Yeah.
And you could say, if you're being honest, he looks like a platoon catcher at best. He does not look like a starting catcher in this league. He just doesn't look like it. I think we can. Do we all agree with that? I mean, I haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
So far that would
great
indicate.
Defensively, 20 home run potential, which is fine. But the fact that he's very streaky and Ben Rice was very good, I think you got another platoon coming next year.
Yeah, he's a platoon catcher. He's not a starting catcher. But the Yankees had him catch every single game. Every single game of the postseason. And you wonder why this team is completely delusional. So catcher, don't expect any changes. First base, I expect that they're really going to think about Ben Rice being their everyday first baseman. I think that's what they want. And I think that's a mistake. In fact, I know that's a mistake. He's not a good first baseman. He's an okay first baseman. He's not like a disaster.
He would have to put in a lot of work.
Yeah, he could, but he's just not a natural first baseman.
No.
He's a natural catcher, and I liked him at catcher. I thought he was fine. I would platoon Wells and Ben Rice at catcher, but to be honest, Ben Rice would be my starting catcher next year. If you look at it in every 5 games, I would say I'd want Ben Rice to catch 3 of them. Right? But I mean, if you want to be honest, first base is maybe a question mark. Okay, so there's one. Right, second base, Jazz. The Yankees are all in on Jazz because they gave up one of their best prospects to acquire him. Didn't have a bad year. Horrible last game. Yeah. Very, very concerning. But you're not moving off Jazz. Chisholm, Volpe, they are committed to Volpe. It's not a financial commitment, it's an emotional commitment. And that's the biggest problem. That's the scariest problem. When you have an emotional commitment to somebody rather than taking a step back and go, what does he offer this franchise? Because the real reality is Anthony Volpe offers absolutely nothing to this franchise. Nothing. But they're going to look at that and go, I love him. He is my son. I must protect him. So he is shortstop. So there's that. So nothing's going to change there. McMahon, they've just acquired him. He's got a couple of years. He's one of those financial commitment guys, right? So that's third base. Don't expect any changes there. Left field, now that's a big question mark because they hate Jason Dominguez. Center field, I expect Grisham to walk. And then obviously right field, you got Aaron Judge and you got Stanton at DH. Okay, so that leaves left field, center field, and first base. That's it. Okay, now I would say that the most likely outcome is Bellinger comes back. And then they use left field to be kind of a Dominguez / Spencer Jones kind of a situation. And that's
Maybe
probably how they're
stick
going to do it,
Bellinger in left. If
unless they
Jones,
put Bellinger in left. But I just don't trust that the Yankees are going to allow Dominguez to play center field and be the captain in the outfield.
yeah.
The way that they've treated that kid is pretty disgraceful. And I'm not even sure if Dominguez will be mentally recovered from the way that the Yankees treated him. I mean, I didn't even know he was on this roster until he got a pinch hit in the ninth inning. But of course, couldn't be for Anthony Volpe.
Did you?
So
With,
that's the problem. So just going back to my point, the only thing that you could really see the Yankees attacking in free agency would be first base. And say one outfield spot. That's it. So that's why I don't believe that there's going to be many changes. And I think the way they're going to do this is going to bring back Bellinger, and then the only thing that they might change would be first base. But to be honest, they're probably going to be thinking Ben Rice could play first base, and then that's it. Maybe they bring back Harrison Bader because they love that guy. Maybe they do that. Maybe they go cheap there.
Wasn't that a Martino thing? Isn't that what Martino said? His offseason plan?
I can totally see it because Martino is a disgusting, vile excuse of a Yankee water carrier. And I could totally see it, can't you?
I hope he's wrong.
Yeah.
At first base, there are good options if they do feel like spending. Josh Naylor's a free agent. I like him. Not Goldschmidt. Alonso would make the most sense in the world for this team. They want to add some thump and a guy that hits in big moments, make a statement that you are going to go for it. He would be the guy. And then you have Rice and Wells platoon. You have two cheap catching options that can both do the job. It's two lefties, but it's interesting how their splits are because Wells can actually hit lefties where Rice can't. So you kind of cancel each other out, and you have a good platoon there. Mark bringing up and potentially, and Dorn's talking about Dominguez. They might look to trade him, if I'm being honest, because they don't seem to be as high on him as they should be. Despite the lack of playing time, he actually did fine. I know he was terrible in left field, but they did him no favors by making him play like twice a week and then taking him out every game in the seventh. So it kind of seems like they might look to move him while he's still very young and has some value. And Spencer Jones seems to be their guy. Now, in a perfect world, the two of them are in the Yankee outfield for many, many years to come. But if they do bring back Bellinger, that only leaves one spot because Judge ain't going off of right field anytime soon. So, nor should he. So, do you consider trading Dominguez for the right price if they can get? I don't know what they would trade him for. Do they trade him for a shortstop? Because again, you're right about Volpe. I don't know. There's a lot of work to be done. Yeah. Once again, and we're going to use this word that Brian Cashman, he did deliver, in my opinion, this offseason on being creative. Plan B was very creative, and it ended up working for the most part. But he's going to have to do it again because there's options out there, and this team has to be better going into October next year. I think Murakami's off the table.
That's one guy I could see the Yankees going for, Murakami. Yeah. I think I could definitely see Murakami being an option. What I would do is I would invest heavily in first base. I'm not having Ben Rice be my first baseman. I want Ben Rice to be my catcher. Love Ben Rice, but I don't like him at first base. We need to have a long-term option at first base. And for me, you could sign Naylor. He's had a really good year, stole 30 bases, bat for average, drove in over 90-plus runs. Josh Naylor had a really good year this year. He could be an option. Another option would be Murakami. I think Murakami, he strikes out too much, but you love those power numbers. And another option maybe be Pete Alonso, but I don't see the Yankees going in those waters. But I kind of agree with Duran's point here that if I was to invest money, I would rather invest money on Pete Alonso than than Cody Bellinger. Sounds funny, but I kind of probably would, because Pete Alonso is a sure thing. And despite what we saw of Bellinger this year, he's not really a sure thing, because we've seen his career where he has a great year, bad year, great year, bad year, great year, bad year. It kind of follows that very often. So I'm not quite sure there, to be honest. But I don't know. I like Murakami, though. But if say we do sign Murakami, which would be a great situation, only issue is he's probably going to go to the Dodgers. But if we do sign Murakami, then that team is going to strike out a ton, because I assume Spencer Jones is going to take one of the outfield spots. He strikes out at over a 30% clip. Murakami strikes out at a 37% clip in Japan. So what's that going to be like in the majors? Probably add another 5-10% to that. He could strike in his first year until maybe he gets used to being in the States. He could be someone that strikes out like 40% of the time. We can't really survive that. I mean, it's just hypothetical, but I'm just going by him striking out a very high clip in Japan. And then Spencer Jones, he obviously strikes out a very high clip in AAA. There's a lot of strikeouts there. And that doesn't really heal what a big problem was in the playoffs. The team strikes out far too much, and they all try and hit home runs. And there's not enough guys that have versatility, try and hit the other way, and do the little things. So that was a big problem. That's why Toronto beat the piss out of us. I literally beat the piss out of us. So I would be very concerned about that. But we know that Brian Cashman isn't concerned about that, because he's never once changed that philosophy since he became the GM. It's never been anything different other than big, giant boppers. It works for 162 games, and you get to the playoffs, and then they get out. Then the pitchers outthink them, and then they're done.
What do you think about Murakami, Tats?
Yeah, I think the glove would be fine. I think it's the bat that Donald was alluding to might be I think he's going. I think he's going to go west. They all do. So I'm not going to really get too vested into him as an option until that dynamic and narrative is proven to be changed. I think first, seriously with first base, I don't think Rice would have to put in a ton of work to improve his defense. I always liked the lefty first baseman. I think it's easier for defense. But I think his best position is a catcher, and he still has to improve on that. I think Rice is kind of lost. He's kind of lost in the shuffle right now because he doesn't have. Aside from DH, there's really no spot for him at this point. We're gonna have to see what he looks like coming into the spring. Alonso is an option I would take a serious look at. I think he's going to age better than some of the other guys in his age bracket. Because despite the frumpy look, he actually is in really good shape. So his defense has improved since he's come up. He did put a lot of work in his defense. He scoops the ball really well. And I think he would. They like his home runs, in Queens. Wait till you see the home runs he could put through a season in the Bronx. I think that would also bode really well for the Yankees. To get a little more offensive pop with Judge and Stanton. So I think like I said, I think first base is going to be their serious area of attack.
It has to be. And I see a lot of people bringing up TJ Rumfield. I like TJ Rumfield. I liked him last year when we were talking about replacing Rizzo. The Yankees didn't even protect him, though.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're very high on him. He had a good season. He had like an 800-plus OPS. I think he had like 19 home runs, but 80-plus ribbies. Had a really good year. He's a much better defender, I can tell you that much. He beats Rice tremendously in the defense department. But will that translate? again, should they pass up on a sure thing in free agency for a could be in the farm system? I mean, as a prospect fan, I would love to see everyone come up and produce, but that's not going to be the case. How many times have we seen guys come up and not produce? So it's just like it's a gamble for a team that's trying to win a championship. That's what a rebuilding team would do. We're going to not spend. We're going to replace the veterans with the younger guys and see what we have. The Yankees can't afford to do that when the window that we've been talking about for 5 years on this show continues to get smaller and smaller. Because guess what? I don't know if people know this or not, but Aaron Judge is going to be older next year. Wow. So is Garrett Cole. So is Giancarlo Stanton. So is Max Fried. This window is closing more and more each passing week, really, each passing day. So I don't know if they're going to go that route. Doran, they could if they don't want to spend, but they kind of can't come off of the stench of this year and then be like, we're not going to spend to make the team better. We're going to all of a sudden now we're going to trust in the farm system when they've shown us zero reason to believe that. Because if they did, they would have called the kids up in 23 and traded away assets. They didn't do that. They relied on the Billy McKinneys and Willie Calhouns of the world. If they did, Jason Dominguez would have gotten a lot more playing time, not only this past year, but the year before. But they kept playing Alex Verdugo, and this year they kept playing Trent Grisham. Now, I understand why Grisham was playing because he was hitting in the regular season, but he should not have been playing in the playoffs as much as he was. So why should I believe them all of a sudden now? Oh, now we have had a change of heart. It's Spencer Jones, it's Rumfield, it's Rice, it's Wells, it's Lombard, it's going to be Volpe at some capacity. It's going to be a whole new youth movement here to hopefully carry a now 34-year-old Aaron Judge to a World Series. They're not going to go that route. In a few years, they might have to if they don't win a championship, and it's an epic failure on their part to not help Judge and Cole get a ring. But, yeah, you're right, Izzy. I try to forget it, but you somehow can't because Willie Calhoun bangs. Don't forget that, in the words of our freaking manager. But I can't see them this year after the stench that is coming off of this year, another season where you watch the team celebrate on your field. They mocked your victory song in the visiting clubhouse of your stadium. They mocked you once again. That is going to me, that's going to be worse than losing, because if you say after all that, we're okay with it, we're just going to not spend again, that leaves a bad image. They have to come out attacking this offseason because they didn't really do it last year. I know they spent heavily on Fried, but they didn't really go for the kill when they could have. That's something that we criticized them for. They had a chance to go get Bregman when nobody else was going after him, and they didn't do it. Now they have options at first base. They have options at shortstop. They don't need starting pitching, so that's solidified. They need to get bullpen, shortstop, first base, and they can then use Dominguez and Jones in the outfield. That's where they can put the youth. You can let Bellinger walk and put that money to shortstop and first base, and the bullpen, that's all I ask of you. I'm not asking you to go keep Bellinger. I would like to see him back, but I wouldn't be too mad if he was gone, because if you really need a first baseman, you really do, and you really need a shortstop. If they do go after a shortstop, that tells me that they're at least changing the guard a little bit, because if they say, no, it's Volpe's job and we got Caballero, then it just, the allegations of complacency are never going to go away.
No, I think the problem is that they're so hung up on Volpe being their guy. They're so afraid of being wrong. But what really stood out, something that stood out to me at the end of the game, was Dominguez was the last one in the dugout to go into the clubhouse.
I agree with that. That's a good point.
And it was almost like that look like he's really questioning what his future is with this club. Is he gonna be an everyday player? You know, did that hit that he got help, you know, his standings in the organization, or is he going to be traded? It was almost like he was taking it all in because he's so unsure about his future, and it's a shame because we've been talking about him for years. Same thing with Volpe. Same thing with Peraza. You know, these guys, we want them to come up and we want them to be successful. You know, Wells was a guy that we were happy we had. You know, until he, you know, but these guys, too many of them have come up to the major leagues and not proven themselves. That's the hesitation to really go into an off season, depending on the youth. Yes, we have tons of youth that we can solve all our problems, but the Yankees have a bigger problem to solve, and that's winning it for Judge and Cole. More so, Judge. You
And
know,
Stan.
Stan deserves. He needs a ring too. It's those are the guys that those three. They have to make sure that if they win the World Series and then they want to hit reset and rebuild this team or retool this team, however they want to word it, fine. Knock yourselves out, have fun. But they can't go into this all season with a lackluster approach. Because otherwise we're going to be sitting here a year from now talking about the same problems.
But to be honest, I hate to be the harbinger of doom, but when Aaron Boone's your manager, you could literally bring back Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth and Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah, it wasn't that long
And it
to play
won't
that day.
change shit. It won't change shit.
Mm-hmm.
Bronx
you're absolutely
Palmer.
right.
Boone's too worried about feelings. He's not a winning type manager. This is a very good point. Aaron Boone is a $5 million. He's been paid $5 million to babysit. He's a babysitter. I mean, explain to me why Anthony Volpe with a 73% strikeout rate in the DS played every single game, every single inning. There was no accountability. Why? Because he's a babysitter. Aaron Boone is a babysitter. He's not a manager. He doesn't lead. Who led the team meeting after the Yankees got embarrassed the first two games? Who led that? It was Big G. Aaron Boone? I'm probably hiding in the corner crying. I mean, this is who your manager is. What did Aaron Boone do in his ridiculous press conference? Oh, my guys are back there sharing. They're sharing. We love each other. I mean, this is who they are. They're soft, and he is as soft as baby shit. I mean, he's the softest fucking manager I have never ever seen. Ever seen. It's incredible, and he's also remarkably dumb for someone who's also as soft and cries all the time. He's a ridiculously stupid manager in terms of like managing the day-to-day, managing games. He doesn't do it. So I really don't care who we sign, man. We can sign Pete Alonso. We can bring in Bregman. Sign Bo Bichette. we can have a $400 million payroll. But if Aaron Boone is your manager, this team wins shit. And then how could you say that, Donald? You don't know. I do know. I've got evidence. 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. We've had a very good roster through most of those years, and he's done shit with it. Last year, he had Juan freaking Soto. Career year, Juan Soto. He had Aaron Judge, Garrett Cole. What did we do? Embarrassed ourselves in the World Series and got laughed at. And this, by the way, this was apparently our best team. Aaron Boone said it himself. This is our best team. What happened there? We got fucking murdered by the Blue Jays. Murdered. It was outrageous. So I'm sorry. I don't buy any of the Yankee shit anymore, and neither should anyone. Boone is the politician who promises never delivers anything. You're right. Healing the man's heart. Donald's right. We could have all the Yankee greats in an all-star team, and still would find a way to mismanage them. We've got the evidence. And he sits there. He's so protected. And that's the problem, because Brian Cashman has his blind spot for one guy. Two guys, Anthony Volpe and Aaron Boone. Arguably two biggest problems in the organization right now. Do you know what's another interesting point here, though? Because we should look at some of these comments. There have been some very good comments here. Duran actually did some work for us. Looked into it. We have $225 million earmarked for 10 players, not including arbitration raises. And we know that Hal Steinbrenner, Mr. Absentee Owner, the very first things that come out of his mouth is this payroll is not sustainable. So you could make a very strong case that he's going to look to lower payroll from the 300 down to the maybe down to 290s, 280s, maybe. That would leave you about, what would you say, about 60 million to completely fix this roster. Well, that's not happening. Have you seen our general manager? That ain't happening. And also, if you look at the prices in free agency, it's like, I mean, it's incredibly expensive these days. If you sign one star free agent, that's like 70% of that used up. 80% of it used up.
Yeah.
We should be very concerned. I'm sorry. I have to say it. We have to be concerned. This is looking very bad. It is looking very, very bad. Yeah, the team's going to be good. Don't get me wrong. The team's going to be very good. The team's going to win 90-plus games next year too. But it'll be the same story in the playoffs. But for some reason, the Yankees have forgotten about the playoffs. It's like it doesn't matter. They want a parade for just winning the wild card. That's what they want.
Process. Yeah,
it's process, and give me a parade because we made the playoffs. When, like, 8 teams, honestly, like 16, a ton of teams make the fucking playoffs. Ton of teams make the playoffs. It's not like that big a deal. It's actually a bigger deal if you miss it. Do you know what I'm saying? Honestly, the Yankees are so lost. They're so lost. And it breaks my heart to see such a proud organization so lost. And as I said in Yankified, they're just in this cycle. They're like in a wash cycle. They're just going round in circles. And until they jump out of that wash cycle, then it'll be the same story next year, the same story after that, the same story after that. They are completely lost, and it breaks my heart. It really does.
Yeah, we have a whole off season to analyze, break it down. But we will be back next week, and we will be breaking down our season awards and how do we judge everybody on the roster. How did they rank for us? And how were our we made some predictions at the beginning of the year. We'll go back into the vault, pull up some of those, and see how close we were to predicting some of these the outcome of some of the play seasons. So with that, appreciate everybody that did hang out with us today. And we will also probably in the next couple of weeks just giving a complete show just to the chat, just to air out your frustrations, give us your ideas, and we will dedicate a whole chat just to you guys with a little Q&A. I think that would be a lot of fun for you all season as well, just to keep everything engaged. So make sure you hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out with your friends, your family, the stranger on the corner. So this is Pinstripe Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats with Rob and Donald. Hope you all enjoy your weekend. Wear those pinstripes to pride and play hard.